What is up, everybody? We are back with another episode of the You Are Dope podcast. I got my son back with me again, Johnny Charles. Jay, what's up, kiddo? How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, trying to stay warm today, but I'm gonna make it. How about yourself?
Oh, man, the same. It's snow apocalypse out here, man. We gotta stay warm and out these streets. Atlanta, stay out the streets. Jay, man, so you wanted to talk to us today. What you want to talk about today, man?
Yeah, for sure. So today we want to talk about just raising kids and the three types of support that kids need. And from my perspective, they need financial support, physical support, and emotional support. So today we kind of want to dive into the financial support aspect of it. So we'd just love to know your thoughts on the financial support aspect of it.
Okay. So, what aspect do you mean by financial support? Because I hear a lot of dads say things like, I put food on the table. I got a roof over your head. And to me, I'm like, you're supposed to do that. Like, you don't get a cookie for that. You don't get a cookie for putting food on the table because that's what you're supposed to do. So, go a little bit deeper as meaning like, what do you mean by financial support, despite the things that men are just supposed to do? What is your aspect, your perspective on
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think what you said is true. Like if you have a kid, you kind of have an obligation to do that. I don't believe that as a man, you should be patted on the back for paying bills and making sure that your kids got food, like thanks for doing what you're supposed to do. But to me, something I think that, that goes with financial support that's really big is the importance of children seeing their father actually just work. It's interesting. One of the things I remember about my dad from when I was young is he did not play about work. Like when it was time to work, he was gonna put that work in, and there was no resting. It was like, no, we're gonna go out here, we're gonna build this deck in the backyard, son. You need to carry all this stuff up the hill. You need to hold this for me, like. And it was like, but once the work was done, we rested. So something that I took from him was just like the importance of just when it's time to work, getting the work done and working hard. So I think that, like while the financial aspect of it is a big thing, I think within it, it's important for kids to see that male figure in their life actually working and working hard.
Nah, I agree. I couldn't agree more with you, man. I think that for fathers, especially like my generation, like my dad, he was definitely about, my dad was like, I go to work, I put the food on the table, I pay the bills. Barbara Ann, which is my mom, you take care of the kids. And that was just his philosophy. He was like, no, I'm going to show these kids like what hard work is. I'm going to show you guys how to work and everything. But sorry, Dad, but he was just like, no, that's a woman's job to take care of the kids. And that's how a lot of men think. Like a lot of men are just like, no, if I'm doing the financial things, then the woman, she should be able to take care of the emotional and the physical. And I don't agree with that. I never have. I don't think I ever will, but I never agree with that. And it's unique to me because you got two perspectives. Like your dad was a super, super hard worker. I don't know how much he was like involved like emotionally and physically and things of that nature, but I do know that he worked his ass off. Me, on the other hand, I work my ass off, but my main priorities are showing up for my kids physically. One thing that you said to me a few months ago, you were just like, because they want me to go to all these damn my grandkids, all their soccer games and baseball games. And I'm like, I don't really want to. And Jay was like, well, the thing is that Pops, you've always been there. Like you always show up for like everything. You always show up for everything. And that to me was like super important to show my kids like, no, I want to be there physically. I want to be there emotionally for you guys. What do you think about that, Jay?
No, I think that's important. I think that, like understanding the different types of support kids need. Financial is important, but doesn't just stop there. I think that specifically with fathers, kids need to see their fathers in multiple ways, right? Like they need to see them as a provider, but they also need to see them there physically. Which, like, so for instance, when I was younger with my dad, he worked late. So my mom would get up early, go to work. My dad would take us to school, and then my mom would get off early and pick us up, and my dad worked late. So a lot of times during the week, at least from what I remember, my mom would be the one taking us to practices and things like that. But on the weekends, when my dad wasn't traveling for work, he was at all of our soccer games. We'd be outside doing yard work together. So he was definitely there. And so I think what you said is good. Like it's important to be there in multiple ways, right? Like if you're just the person who's like, okay, I pay the bills, I put food on the table, and that stops right there, in my opinion, that's incomplete parenting, right? Like you're leaving a deficit there because children need more from their father than just paying the bills. Also, it's interesting. I also think in today's time, the family dynamic looks a lot different, right? So, I mean, you could look at a couple generations ago where you could raise a family off a single income. Now, the world looks different, right? So I feel like you're seeing a lot more mothers in the workforce as well. And so, with that being the case, is like now, well, yes, it's important that men provide financially, women are also providing financially just as much. And so you're seeing more of like the need to separate, not separate duties, but like it's more of a team effort. It's like, hey, we're both providing, we're both going to be there physically, we're both going to be there emotionally. Like, hey, I need you to cook dinner tonight. So I think you're seeing that just with the changing of times, that you're seeing fathers need to become more involved than maybe they were in the past.
Nah, I love that, man. Do you believe that that is just? Do you believe that that's natural for dads to do? Like, for instance, for you, is that natural for you to like come home, cook, and I mean, you've been cooking since you were a teenager, but is that was that just natural for you to do those kind of things?
I don't know if it was natural. For me, I always want, like, when I thought about being a parent, I always wanted to be very involved in my kid's life. I enjoy children in general. I feel like they kind of help to remind you that life, not to take life so seriously. But I love spending time with Mike. So for me, it wasn't. I don't know if it was all natural, but it was something that definitely was important to me. But I think that what's happened is that we've become so focused on, you got to support these kids financially, and then it just kind of stops right there. And I think that we're starting to see more and more now that it's like, no, it's more than just, okay, I'm gonna pay the bills and then that's it.
Yeah. So okay, so I gotta ask you this. So I remember before Mike was born, my grandson, before my baby boy was born. I remember you and I having this conversation out at the house, and I remember our conversation was like, you was like, "Pops, I want to make money. I want to make money," and I was even asking you things like, "Well, man, what about the other parts?" And you was just like, "Nah, I need to make money." Like, what shifted for you? Because I know that you still want to make money, and you do make money, but it seemed as if something shifted in you, and you actually surprised me because you're a very involved father. Not that I didn't think that you would be, but I just thought that your ultimate goal was just I gotta make money, I gotta make money, I gotta make money, I gotta put food on the table, I gotta build financial wealth, I gotta do all these things. So what shifted?
I mean, those things are definitely still important to me, but I think, having a kid, it just kind of changed my perspective on what's really important. And so those are all still like goals of mine and things that I want to do. But now I have to, now, like I said, I have more responsibilities now, and so it's like I have to rank my responsibilities, um, and just figure out what's important. And then the other things is like I still want to do them, but okay, how does this fit into my family life, right? Like, so for instance, I want to make money, and so I'm looking for a new job, and like, oh, we'll pay you $200,000, but it's in Alpharetta, and you got to come in the office every single day, and you can't leave till 5:30. It's like, yeah, the money's nice, but that takes away from my main responsibility, which is being a father and a husband. So it's like, keep looking for the job, but find the job that allows me to be flexible, where I'm still able to make money but still be present for my family. So to answer your question, what shifted was my priorities and my responsibilities shifted. So then everything else kind of had to get rearranged.
Yeah, man, and I love that. I'm involved, so I love the seeing you in that role. I'm gonna give you a little bit of story. I don't know if you remember when I used to do music, but when I used to do music, I was traveling out to LA a lot. And one of the things, the stipulations was the producer that I was working with. He was like, "Hey, man, look, if you want to do this music, man, you're gonna have to move out to LA." And I honestly, I contemplated, but I swear to you, I was like, I'm not leaving my kids. Like, I'm not, I want to show up for their first soccer game or their first basketball game. Like, I want to do those things. Like, those things are super, super important to me. And so I turned it down. I was like, man, if I can't do it, by coastal, writing and then sending it to you, maybe it's not for me because my kids were my main priority. Like, what good is it to save the whole world and then end up with nothing? Like, I love like the people that have given their lives to, music and all these other achievements and things like that that they've gained, but then they don't have a relationship with their kids. And I'm like, that's not what this is about for me. For my kids, y'all didn't ask to be here. You didn't ask for me to adopt you. Taylor and Kennedy didn't ask for that. So me not being a present figure it was not an option for me. It was like, nah, I'm not doing that, you know. And it hurt too. I'll be honest with you. It hurt
Yeah.
because I'm really good at music. I'm really good at writing. But it was like, man, these are my options. I'm gonna choose my kids all day, every day over anything else because me being a present figure in you guys' lives, I think it was way more important than having all the money in the world. Not that money wouldn't hurt, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, so just think I thought about this when you were, kind of telling that story was imagine giving more to others in the world than you give to the children that you create. And there's a lot of people that end up doing that. And when you think about it, to me, I think there's no greater job than being a father, being a mother, being a husband, being a wife. Like to me, those are the two most important jobs. Like if you want to change the world, go be a great significant other and be fully involved in your kids' lives and help raise them up because it's like Mike is the next generation. So do I am I going to leave it to somebody else to raise him, to instill values in him, or am I the one who should take the responsibility of like, no, this is how we're supposed to behave. This is how we're supposed to move about the world. This is how we're supposed to treat people. And so to me, I look at it as like, it's my job to make sure that he is raised a certain way. And I don't, and, I mean, obviously Adrena is there as well, but we don't put that responsibility in anybody else's hands. It starts and stops with us.
Yeah. I love that, man. You know, I love that. I love that with all my heart. And that is a reason why our podcast has kind of started to shift a little bit. For those of you that don't know, like I'm a life coach. You should know that by now, but I'm a life coach. And what I do is I help dads build stronger relationships with their kids. And this is a part of that, man. It's just like building those stronger relationships with your kids so that they can grow up and be amazing human beings. Like all the money in the world, that's dope. But all the money in the world and be an asshole, what good is that? All the money in the world and not know how to treat people, what good is that? So I think if I had to rank like financial, physical, emotional, I would say for me they're all equally important. But the emotional part, which we'll talk about next week, is the part that I was missing with my kids is that I didn't know how to be emotionally available. And now I realize like how important that is. Like that's to me is like one of the most important things that you actually could teach your kid is how to emotionally regulate their emotions, how to be there emotionally, how to show up emotionally, because that's going to carry with them for the rest of their lives into this world. And so I think that is, for me, that's probably the number one is how to be emotionally available for your kids. How would you rank yours if you had to rank?
I don't think, to me, there's no ranking, right? It's like they're all equally as important. It's like, say you're cooking dinner and it's like, what's the most important ingredient? Well, if you leave any ingredient out, it's out of balance. And so to me, they're all important. They're important for different reasons, but when you lack one, you're going to be out of balance.
Do you think it's hard to have balance in all of them? To balance them all?
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's a challenge.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, I mean, like my job can be stressful. And so it's very easy for me to be stressed at my job, come home, and then have short patience with Mike and Adrena. And at the end of the day, it's not their fault that my job's stressful, and it's not fair that I then carry that stress from my job over into the way that I show up as a husband and a father. So
So
it definitely can be tough at times. Something me and Adrena talk about is just having good outlets, and like just ways that you can kind of just manage stress, do things for yourself where you don't feel as depleted is really good. If you just all work and that's all you do all the time, like it's very easy to become out of balance.
and just a step further, like even if you are tired, like you come home from work, you're a little exhausted, and it's like, damn, I worked all day long. I'm telling you, like just spending time with like little kids, it like rejuvenates you. Like whenever I come out to the house, like, we have a house out in Marietta, but whenever I go out there and I get to spend time with my grandkids, and I could be like, oh, I'm just not in the space. Like it just really rejuvenates me. I'm like, oh man, this is like what it's about. Like it's so awesome. Like they be whooping my ass.
Yes, they do.
Oh man, well Jay, I appreciate you coming on here today, kiddo. Man, this is a great conversation. I hope that you dads, I hope that everybody got something out of this week. We'll be back in a couple weeks, and like we said, this is gonna be a 3-part series. We'll talk about the either physical or the emotional in a couple weeks. But again, I hope that you guys got something out of this. If you guys are looking for a life coach, you dads out there that are looking for a coach that is trying to help you build stronger relationships with your kids, I want you to please shoot me an email at sharif@lifecoachatl.com. And we can get busy, man. I got you. I got your back. I got you. I love y'all. I think you guys are dope. And I appreciate you guys for tuning in because you are